This evening to the meeting tonight, and Mr. Lesher is going to open the prayer for us tonight, and then follow it by the pledgation of the flag. If everybody could stand, please.
Will you join me in? Will you join me in prayer? Almighty God, we give you thanks for the many gifts you have given us, for knowledge and wisdom, for science and medicine. Guide us to use these gifts from the advice of the Centers for Disease Control and our own county health officer to the COVID vaccine. These gifts wisely to protect our neighbors and fellow citizens from this dreadful disease. Keep our resolve to fight it until we have truly conquered it. We ask too for discernment and wisdom as we work for your people here in Talbot County, that our work here will be a blessing for others. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Mr. Lesher. I really appreciate you taking the lead on that. You do such a great job on that. I appreciate it. Okay, tonight, council, our agenda is before us, May 25th. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair moves that the agenda be accepted by unanimous consent. And next to be the minutes. Council has had a chance to take a look and review the minutes for May 11th, 2021. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the chair moves that the minutes be accepted by unanimous consent. Moving on to disbursements. On May 25th, 2021, council's had a chance to review it. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections on the disbursements? Hearing none, the chair moves that the disbursements be accepted with unanimous consent, by unanimous consent, I'm sorry. Okay, so to start tonight with presentation of the Talbot County Board of Education budget transfer, Kevin Shafer. Is Kevin here?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, how you doing, Kevin?
Good, how are you?
We want to welcome you. And all bright, got a nice shirt on. You got a haircut, it looks like, too. You know?
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're ready, aren't you? Huh? There you are. All right, so we're looking forward to your presentation. So I'm gonna hand it off to you, and if you need anything, you just kind of let me know.
Thank you, President Callahan. Good evening, members of the council. As President Callahan stated, I come before the council this evening to request consideration of a categorical budget transfer request, and that request is associated with two capital projects that the council was gracious enough to approve for FY21 this year. Those specific projects are the Easton High School athletic track replacement and the Easton High School parking lot replacement. As described in my May 20th letter to the council, the public solicitation process associated with each of those projects came in significantly higher than the budget amount that the council approved. And as a result of that, we are asking for a categorical transfer within our current year budget to supplement the funding necessary to complete those projects, because we would like them to move forward. The funding associated with the transfer is due to a reimbursement through the public school construction program, school safety grant program. Specifically, our security vestibule installations was funding that we were reimbursed for And that's what I would like to apply those funds to allow for the completion of those projects. The second page of that letter gives a summary, little spreadsheet there of the approved budget and the total amount for each of the projects, plus a 5% contingency allocation for each of them. And the overage, I want to draw attention that one of the projects that the council had approved was a parking lot resurfacing at St. Michael's Middle High School. And we would like to utilize those funds as well to complete the Easton High School parking lot and track. So we would also be absorbing those to help complete those projects. And we would have to move the St. Michael's parking lot to a later year. The Easton High School parking lot and the track are a higher priority, which is the reason we're requesting that as well. So I think that pretty much concludes my explanation of the request. So I just would be able to answer any questions that the council may have.
Kevin, I've got one. The parking lot is more than double. What happened? I mean, that is so far off. We're not usually that far off with what we budget.
Yeah, that is, and that's an excellent question, Mrs. Price. And so there's a couple things. So full disclosure with the council, the Easton High School parking lot was a request that's been on the capital project list for a number of years. And full disclosure, I did not update that quote from when it was originally requested. So I think that's part of it. I think costs have gone up, but also the scope of work. I quickly realized this year when trying to prepare the public solicitation that this was over my head with the needs. So I did contract with a civil engineering firm to design the project. And through that process, we realized that there was some significant repairs that were going to have to happen. And in that quoted price was an overlay only. It was not, there wasn't a milling process included, and it's required because of the elevations with the parking lot at Easton High School. So that added a significant amount of cost to it as well.
So I'm going to follow that up. We have a roads department that does milling and things like that. Is there any way that we can get this cost down? Is there, something that our roads department can do to help so that?
So what I would say to that is certainly don't want to speak for the county roads, but I will say that we had a very, very significant participation in this public solicitation process. Some very large contractors weighed in and submitted bids, and it was actually quite consistent across all. We had 7 bids total, and there was one outlier that was significantly more expensive than the lowest bid, but the rest were pretty closely clustered, and I think that's a pretty good testament to the fact that this is probably a pretty good price. It's a very large area, and as with everything else, costs have gone up significantly, and so I think it just kind of all played a role that resulted in this high price.
Well, but listen, when we do our own work, there's just the cost of the materials and the labor with no markup. So that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the county roads and Warren out there. I know that they are probably swamped with, as with everyone right now. So I wouldn't be able to answer that. We could certainly.
Well, I'm just thinking, for future, when we have projects like this, what we do our own roads, why wouldn't we at least consider or talk to our roads department to see if this is something that when we have projects like this that we consider doing, because you would think it would save everybody money. So anyway, just a thought.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Council,
Yep.
This is Angela. I would like to just interject here that if this is something that you do want to approve, we should amend capital enabling legislation for these projects, which is something that I was planning to have ready for the next council meeting for the upcoming projects. But I do think we do need to amend all of those bills that would be impacted by this if you do approve this, since capital projects all have their own legislation. I think it's a little bit more involved than just you saying yes or no at this point. We do need to amend the legislation, although I will obviously defer to Mr. Thomas for his opinion, but I do believe we need to amend the enabling legislation bills if you do approve this request.
Okay. Patrick, you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, I believe that would be appropriate. I'd certainly work with Ms. Lane on that.
Okay, that's great. Okay, council. Any other questions, councils? Everybody good with this?
So Kev, this is Frank.
Yeah.
If we approve the funding, because I'm pretty sure we just gave told Warren that he could buy a milling machine and we sell the millings, or we use the millings for other base, which reduces other county projects costs, things like that. If there was any way for county roads to get in and help reduce the cost, is there still time for that?
So we can definitely reach out and try to connect the parties and have a quick discussion to see if roads is able to help, while Patrick and Angela work to amend the enabling legislation.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Billy. I appreciate that. Okay. So are everybody else good? Kevin, you okay? Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Chuck, are we taking official action on this, or are we gonna?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, I was going to put this in form. I was going to.
I thought we were going to have a conversation. Why don't we do it at the time we do the capital enabling legislation? And meanwhile, if there's something that Warren and the roads department can do, so that's my question. Do we need to vote on this tonight, or can we wait 2 weeks?
The only thing I would add is we do have a bid deadline out there.
That's what I was going to ask.
So to get it under contract, to get everything moving, it would be beneficial to TCPF to certainly have an idea of the direction. I can certainly send Warren the submitted bid, successful bidder, and have him take a look at pricing and probably get a pretty quick answer on whether he thinks that's a reasonable amount.
I would love him to look at the pricing at least.
So Kevin, if you could send that to Lois, she'll work with Warren. Warren's actually out right now.
Okay.
We can try to get that to him and send it to Lois if you don't mind.
Yep. Okay.
Do we want to move for a straw poll to indicate our support for a categorical transfer to enable this so that the school can meet its bid deadline on this, and we can buy the extra time between now and the approval of the capital legislation to work out anything that we might be able to do to reduce this cost?
I think you're right, Mr. Lesher, Vice President Lesher. I was going to call for a motion in a second to approve.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Madam Secretary, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Aye.
Sounds good. Okay,
Thank you very
Kevin,
much.
I think. Yep. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to introduction of a numbered resolution. Madam Secretary, would you please read the title of the resolution into the record?
A resolution to adopt the 2020-2030 Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan for Talbot County, Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Patrick and Mr. Clark, are you available to give us a little bit of information about this proposed legislation?
Mr. Callahan, I am, if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great. How you doing, Ray?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
Very quickly, again, I guess in Comar, we're required to have a solid waste management plan and update that plan every 10 years. This resolution is basically to introduce the solid waste management plan for the planning period of 2020 to 2030. We worked, I guess, in February, March to finalize the draft, and then ultimately forwarded the draft over to Maryland Environmental Service to basically update tables. We then sent the final draft to Maryland Department of the Environment, as well as the Planning Office, the Planning Commission, and the Public Works Advisory Board on March 26th for their review. On April 7th, basically, I did present the plan at the Public Works Advisory Board meeting and the Planning Commission meeting to receive any comments that they had. I did receive a few comments. And then on April 19th, the MDE basically gave us a approval of the final draft with some minor comments that we then addressed on the same day on April 19th. And now we've been working, I guess, with the county manager's office on finalizing the plan, doing some edits, minor edits and whatnot. And that's what you have tonight.
Okay, there, Mr. Clark. Patrick, do you want to say anything?
No, I would just add, as Mr. Clark stated, this is something that's required, the county's required to do under the environment article in COMAR and every 10 years, as he noted.
Great. Okay. Council, because we're meeting in a virtual environment this evening, I'm going to ask Madam Secretary to please conduct a roll call to introduce the legislation. Ms. Morris, would you please announce the resolution number and the public hearing date and the time of the legislation, please?
This will be known as Resolution 303, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, June 22nd at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ray and Patrick. Thank you.
It hasn't been introduced yet.
Yeah, I need a roll for introduction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I appreciate that.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes, sir.
Should we save questions for the date of the public hearing, or would it be appropriate to raise any questions at this point?
I'll take your lead, Mr. Vice President, whatever you think.
Just so that if any adjustments could be made here, I looking through the plan, which is very thorough and covers a lot of aspects of solid waste removal. This, of course, has to do with our recycling program. This has to do with the transfer station that we maintain at the old landfill. It has to do with the solid waste. I'm sorry, the biosolids facility out there. What is that on Klondike Road? Somewhere out there in that vicinity.
Solid waste. Yeah.
So it covers a lot of these things, and a lot of that's based on what is our population now, looking forward, what will our population be over the next 10 years, what are the capacities that we need to have for all of this, and so I guess I'm curious, are we checking a box here? Is this simply a plan that we need on the state shelf? Do we actually base some of our decision making on this? And if so, I look at we use, of course, census data for the population projections for what our growth is going to be over the next 10 years. This is on page 14. But if you look at that, broke it down by municipality and the unincorporated areas of the county, it projects tract growing by just 100 persons over the next decade, and by an additional 100 persons over the following decade, and with an approved 2,501 house development in TRAP, that's a pretty significant change that's not reflected in this. And I don't know if it might be appropriate, granted, usually the census is the best we have to go on, but in this case, we might know more than the census. We might have some information that the census doesn't have, and I wonder whether it might be appropriate, if in fact we use this for some planning for some of these, for the capacity of some of these elements, whether it might not be appropriate to tweak some of those numbers.
Ray, you want to answer some of those?
Yeah, sure thing. A couple points. One is I think at this point in time, what I will say is with the solid waste facility or the landfill, typically MES is going to utilize, let's say, inflation numbers that are probably greater than let's say, the population growth numbers. They can exceed, and I think one of the things that we did have happen with the current the current landfill in Caroline County. That landfill right now basically has probably 30 years of capacity. based upon the numbers that were calculated. So we currently are leaving about 10 years of capacity in that landfill. I would anticipate that the new landfill being planned for Queen Anne's County will have, plenty of growth capabilities within that plan. So we're part of the Midshore Regional Landfill concept, which we have 4 counties that participate: Talbot, Queen Anne's County, Kent County, and Caroline County. So we tend to utilize all the numbers associated with those 4 counties. But at the same time, I think the volumes that are projected tend to be higher because of safety factors. And I think that's what happened with Caroline County, with it being almost more than 50% greater in capacity than what was needed. It is difficult, I think, at this point in talking with MES about projecting for the solid waste. There are a couple of factors. One is recycling. We have seen a significant amount of recycling, both in curbside recycling within the town of Easton and St. Michael's and Oxford. And it's becoming, and we saw a lot more with this pandemic year, with a lot more cardboard coming in. So, it's kind of been difficult for us to try and figure out where we're going to go. I will say, from a capacity perspective, we have more than enough capacity, and that's being planned out again for the next 40 years, really for the next 50 years, with the 2 landfills in Kent and then Queen Anne's County after Caroline County. But we can try to look at that, but I think it's going to be very difficult to project out, because the development and trap per se, we don't really know when that's going to happen and whatnot. We can adjust the plan accordingly if necessary and advise MDE of that if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. Appreciate it. So, okay, anybody else? Okay. So, all right. So we're good with that, Mr. Vice President. You okay with that?
I think we can carry on. I just, if we were going to make an adjustment, I thought it better to ask the question sooner rather than later.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to eligible for vote. So council, your next bill 1473 is eligible for vote. Madam Secretary, will you please read the bill into the record?
Bill 1473, an act to establish the 2021-2022 annual budget and appropriation ordinance and amendments.
That's great. Ms. Lane, you want to provide an overview of the amendments?
Yes, I'll read the amendments into the record. They're not that many.
Okay.
So, Talbot County, Maryland, Budget Amendment Number 1, Fiscal Year 2022, Bill Number 1473. Section 1, be it enacted by the County Council of Talbot County, Maryland, that Bill Number 1473, an act to establish the 2021-2022 annual budget and appropriation ordinance, shall be and is hereby amended as follows. Tax rates. A service charge based on a rate of changing from 0.05% to 0.062% will be applied to the unpaid balance of real property taxes due in December on the properties with the semi-annual tax payment option. On the appropriation budget, state's attorney, salary and benefits, changing from $1,060,960 to $1,063,381, a change of $2,021. Sheriff's Office operating expense, changing from $962,500 to $967,500, a change of $5,000, and that is an increase. Other social services operating appropriation, changing from $445,282 to $465,282, a change, an increase of $20,000. Reserve for contingencies, changing from $1,480,000 to $1,452,579, a change for these operating line items from $3,948,742 to $3,948,742, a net change of $0 for the appropriation budget. Section 2, be it further enacted that, subject to the provisions hereinafter set forth and subject to the public general laws of Maryland and the Talbot County Charter relating to budgetary and fiscal procedures, the several amounts herein specified, or so much thereof as shall be sufficient to accomplish the purposes designated, are hereby approved, appropriated, and authorized to be dispersed for the capital projects specified for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. Talbot County, Maryland, capital budget fiscal year 2022. The capital budget in the public school category, the project is the Easton High School roof replacement project, changing from $1,328,500 to $3,275,423, a change, an increase of $1,946,923. Capital projects fund reserves, changing from $3,850,500, going to $1,903,577, a change, a decrease of $1,946,923. So the total capital projects are changing from $5,179,000 to $5,179,000, a net change of $0. The summary of capital budget appropriations, FY 2022. Public schools, that category is changing from $1,328,500 to $3,275,423, a change, an increase of $1,946,923. The capital projects fund reserves are changing from $3,850,500 to $1,903,577, a decrease of $1,946,923. So the total of capital budget appropriations is changing from $5,179,000 to $5,179,000, a net change of $0 for these line items. The application of funds under the local funds category, the application of funds for public schools is changing from $1,328,500 to $3,275,423, an increase of $1,946,923. The capital projects fund reserves are changing from $3,850,500 to $1,903,577, a decrease of $1,946,923. So the total application of funds in the local fund category for these two line items are changing from $5,179,000 to $5,179,000, a net change of $0. Those are the only amendments that I have at this point that have been incorporated into the fiscal 22 proposed budget.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. I appreciate that. It was a great job. And as usual, you've done a great job this year putting that all together and keeping things straight for us, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, I'm going to open it to the floor. And Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I I would like to start by offering a further amendment to the appropriations budget in the public school category, in the Board of Education budget, from $43,625,000 to $43,905,596, an increase of $280,596. This would be to fund two items in the school request. One is the all-day pre-K program, and the second is the CNA program. Those particular items.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Pack.
And perhaps I need to further clarify that the offset of that would be an adjustment in the property tax school supplement by a rate, and I believe Ms. Lane has calculated this that would offset that amount.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Pack, any comments?
Yeah, just very quickly, looking at Mr. Lesher's amendment and regarding these 3 or 4 positions, I should say, 3.5 pre-K teachers and 1 certified school nurse for the CNA program, which is a new program that I really commend the school in starting. You know, I was not, as I said last session that we had, I was not supportive this year of a supplemental increase, but for these 2 items, I can lend my support to it. I think that we're going to be made to go into the pre-K by Kerwin anyway, in probably another year or so. This would just allow us to get ahead of the game, so to speak. The cost is not, in my opinion, outrageous at $215,382 for those 3 positions. The school nursing position, again, it's a new program, that's $65,000 for that position. I think, again, it's not anything that's outrageous. It would require a supplemental increase onto the property tax. And looking at that number, I think you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 0.36. So I can get behind those 2 amendments to bring on full-time pre-K early and to start the CNA program in the school system.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pack. I appreciate that. Ms. Price. Ms. Price, you gonna take your mute off?
Yeah, my button went away. I'm not in favor of making any changes. I'm, going to follow the state's lead and do Kerwin when it's required. And if those are programs they want to do, they can, shift some things around in the budget if that's a program that they would like to bring in. But, we're going to be on autopilot with Kerwin. And so I'm not open to any changes in the budget this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Appreciate it. Mr. DeVillia.
Thank you. So this was incredibly difficult. I believe I've said every time we've gone through this budget that it's a big increase that makes me extremely nervous. But when I look at where we are property tax rate wise and what we're offering, these are 2 programs that I'll see that will make an immediate impact in our community. The certified nursing assistant is somebody who's going to graduate Easton High School and be ready to immediately walk into a career at any of our facilities, such as the Pines, William Hill. I think I'm using the names of old facilities that have now changed. But there's any number of assisted living facilities and opportunities for these individuals to move up into nursing. And I greatly appreciate the school finding grant money for, I believe, 1/3 or 2/3 of it. So we're just paying for the teacher. That everything else has already been covered. So Surrounding counties are doing the certified nursing assistant program. I don't want to be behind on that, especially just looking at our population. We have plenty of students who need jobs. We have plenty of seniors who need certified nursing assistants. So I see that as a win-win that will come back to pay dividends, as well as the full-day pre-K. What do we have? I believe, 5 elementary schools in Talbot County. And if this isn't grant funded, then we'll have 1 with full-day pre-K. That's not fair. And we've also seen the incredible benefits of having the kids in school and at an earlier age, getting that longer start. These are 2 programs that come in at about $250,000. And I love the schools, but I'm extremely cautious and have voiced that over and over again about projects that I think sometimes don't get properly handled well, as well as I don't like when something's grant funded and then it just drops off and then we're stuck footing the bill. We haven't planned it out. So I'm looking forward to a different budget process next year, I think with a little bit more planning with some department heads. But at this time, I see more certified nursing assistants being a great benefit to the community that I'd be willing to fund that for. And we know the benefits of having full-day pre-K, and I don't want to see that just be at one school and then the Board of Ed have to figure out shuffling kids applying out of district and all of that. It's something that I think that we should do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeVillio. So it seems like council is got the votes to move forward and in serving these programs. So Mrs. Lane, so can we take care of that?
Yes. I don't have all the numbers.
Yes.
Right away.
Okay.
But if my numbers are correct, the real property tax revenue for FY 2022 is based on a rate of changing from 0.6529 to 0.6565 per $100 of assessed valuation for all properties outside the incorporated limits of the towns of Easton, Oxford, Queen Anne, St. Michael's, and Trapp. I do not have the rates for the municipalities, but they will all go up by 0.36 cents. And then under the appropriation ordinance in the category of the Board of Education, the operating appropriation will change from $43,625,000 to $43,905,596, an increase of $280,596. And under real property taxes on the revenue side, we will have a line item change for the education supplement, changing from 0 to $280,596, and that will be an increase of $280,596. And I have to do one more calculation, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
And then our total budget, both revenues and expenditures, will change from $112,535 to $112,815,596, which should be an increase of $280,596. I think those are all the changes that this will add to the amendments that I have already read into the record.
So,
Mr. Thomas, do we need to vote on that amendment separately from the full ordinance, I presume?
Yeah, you'll need to vote on all of the amendments, whether you do the group that we had originally proposed and this one separately or together. I don't know that that matters, but they'll have to be voted on before you vote on the budget.
I think you should do this one separate.
So do we want to do it? Okay. Might need a little help here, Patrick. So do we want to start off with, is there a motion to introduce the amendment as proposed? Is that where we want to start?
Right, so yes.
Okay.
I will so move for
Okay.
the amendment as prepared, as proposed.
Okay. Is there a second to is there a second to approve the amendment?
I'll second.
Okay. So what? Bear with me. So what we're doing, we're Patrick, we're introducing motion to we're making a motion here if we're going to introduce what's proposed.
Correct.
Okay.
This is that list of budget amendments that Ms. Lane read into the record.
The first time. The first time. Correct.
Does this include the school changes or just what she read?
It does not include those.
Yeah, it does not include. It does not include. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. So basically what we're voting on is the very first round. So, okay. So Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
Mr. Callahan?
No.
Mr. DeLeo?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
No.
Mr. Pack?
All right. Okay. All right. So, Madam Secretary, what we're going to do now, Patrick, are we going to make a motion to introduce the amendment on the amended one that we just the new one?
So now you do the same thing, but with respect to the amendments the second set of amendments.
Correct.
So I will move for that second set of amendments that will increase the appropriation to the school board, the Board of Education, by $280,596, and the corresponding property tax offset in that same amount, which will result in an increase of the property tax of 0.36.
Thank you, Mr. Right.
And I'll second that motion.
Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
Before you call the roll, we can have some discussion, right? On the night of a budget vote, it's even a week late, to throw this out there that I knew nothing about and that we've been through a whole budget process, to do this at the last minute and then all of a sudden do a property tax increase, however perceived small it is, without public input and their opportunity to weigh in on that, I think is a little inappropriate. We're raising taxes and we're raising the budget on the night of a budget vote that, in all honesty, is a week late. If we'd done this last week, I don't even know if this would have come up. So, for that reason, I mean, it's not that I don't like this, the CNA program. I do. I think that's great. I think the pre-K, whatever, should have, we're going to get in line with the state and do that next year. I already said that. And it's not that I don't support the schools, but the way this was done at the last minute, middle of the night, with no knowledge, I don't like that. So that's what I have to say on that.
And I just want to let everybody know my position too. There's not a person that doesn't want to support the nursings and the pre-K, but it's the process that we're doing tonight. I'm really not on board. I think we've all, as council, always said if we're going to be changing something, there should be a public hearing, and there should be input, not last minute on this stuff, not on this budget, because this is very important, and it's all important to all of us. And I think we're veering off on the left side of the road a little bit on this, and I don't agree with the process of how we're doing this. So it's not that I don't agree with the programs, because I think we all love the schools, And I was, I had a conversation with Vice President Lesher, and we had a great discussion about all this. And I just think that we need to take a look at our process on this. I don't like it. And I think we're just not doing the right thing in this last minute thing. I don't really care for it. So that's why I'm not going to have to be able to support that. I'd like to be honest with you. I would love to have the input of the public and also the school's input too, because we're giving this to the schools. The schools should have really some say over this too. I know they want it, but it'd be nice if they were in front of us to explain a little bit more. So that's what I have to say about it.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes, yes.
I'm with you on the last. Nobody likes last minute changes, of course. And if I could have gotten this accomplished sooner, of course, we canceled our work session for last night. If I could have gotten this accomplished sooner, I most certainly would have. This was the way things came together. But I will say, in terms of public input, that we've actually had ample public input on this. We've heard in the public hearing on the budget precisely support over these particular items, and we heard that loud and clear. We've heard it in writing from any number of people, from a larger number of people actually than we heard from in the budget hearing this year. This has been vetted. This was introduced. This request came through from the schools at the beginning of the budget process. This has been on the table the whole time. And this is all being done in the light of day, which is proper. I regret the last minute portion of this. I really do. But this is vetted. This has the public support.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lesher. I don't agree that it's been vetted. I mean, have we talked about the programs? Yes. With the virtual environment, the public was not engaged on this, and you're always going to get letters of support from from teachers in the school in that. But what's not vetted is a tax increase on the public school, with an increase in the public schools. None of that was vetted at all. I haven't heard from more than, like I said, you're always going to get teachers and people that are in the school system itself to get an email out, and it seems like you're getting a lot of support, but with 38,000 people in the community, no, it really doesn't have large public support. Not because we didn't talk about it, had it been earlier, in the process. So I think that's just a little bit of a stretch. I mean, I respect your opinion and everything, but to say it's a large amount of public support, they didn't know, and they certainly don't know about their taxes going up. Again, we talked about the tax increase, and they supported that in the election, for public safety. There have been, we don't have to go through them all, but I know that we have had education supplements probably 7 out of the last 10 years or something like that, and the tax rate, yes, we still have a very low tax rate in the state of Maryland, but that's how we are able to keep a lot of our people here because of that, and we've done a good job with our budget. This is a huge budget this year. I mean, I know some of it's transferred to capital projects, but $112 million, it's nearly double the one that I first worked on. So I just don't think the public really has had an opportunity to really engage. And I know it's partially because of the virtual environment and all that, but anyway, so I'll move on now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lesher and Ms. Price. I appreciate that, and everybody, all their input and everything. So right now, I want to make sure we are, we're taking a roll call.
Let me just.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Mr. Pack. I'm sorry.
Let me just say to the process that you alluded to, Mr. Callahan.
Yes, sir.
An amendment can be offered up at any time prior to a vote being taken. That is the parliamentary procedure that this council has been working under since its inception. So to say that this was a last minute and not right, I take exception to. Any council member prior to a vote being taken can offer up an amendment. Mr. Lester is correct. The school board has offered up these items in which they were a part of our public record. The list was much larger than this at the beginning. I think it was over $1 million worth of increases. So members of the public very well knew about this because it was made public. And I know we got a small number of people that called in during the initial public hearing for the budget. I think no more than 10, if I remember correctly, called in, probably a smaller number of respondents that I can remember for a county budget. But nonetheless, citizens were allowed time to respond to the budget. They were allowed time to respond to the budget. The process has been the standard process, again, in this county and other counties, going back to the beginning of the charters for those counties. If you look at the last 10 years worth of education supplements, this will be the smallest education supplement that any council has imposed over the last 10 years, the smallest, at 0.31. And these programs, as far as pre-K, I think that if not this council, the next council will be mandated to impose that pre-K as part of Kerwin. So in my opinion, it's just getting in front of what's coming your way. If you're and you were a big supporter of those CET programs, Mr. Callahan. So at $65,000 to start a CNA program here in the county and the schools, if you're supportive of CTE, this is the time to get behind it and support it. If you're not supportive of CTE, then let your vote go that way. But this is a program that they have come up with grant dollars to fund 2/3 of it. The county, is proposed by this amendment, is asked to put in $65,000 for the salary. And I think that's a reasonable request. So I just take exception to the statement that this process is somehow underhanded, is not done right. This has been the process we worked under for years,
Well, I tell you, wait a minute, let me talk for a second. I take exception that the words you're putting in my mouth too, because I'm told you I don't like the process that we're going through. So Mr. Pack, what you're doing, we're making decisions and raising taxes on the public, and they have no say. That's all I'm saying. I'm with the program. It's not that I'm against the program. I'm against what we're doing here as how we're going about doing it. It needs to go to public. It needs to go to the public. That's my feeling. So, I don't really mind if you're offended or not. This is my thoughts. You have your thoughts. Mrs. Price?
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is, yes, of course we can offer amendments at any time, but that's typically on a piece of legislation, and you can only do an amendment without public process if it's non-substantive. I don't remember in 11 budgets an amendment to the budget on the night of the vote with a tax increase involved. And if there was one, I'm sure I voted against it. But
Mr. Barnard introduced two in one night in the same
night. And I'm sure I voted against that budget. But again,
you were for it.
Well, on budgetary things like that affect all the citizens of the county, to me it's substantive and would require something else. I know that they've heard about the programs and things like that, but that's all I'm saying. Yes, you can offer an amendment at any time. I would have liked to have been notified. I would have liked the common courtesy for another council member to have told me this was coming. I didn't know anything until Mr. Lesher opened his mouth 10 minutes ago. So that, to me, everybody else seems to have known about it, had a conversation. Maybe you just write me off because you know that I'm not going to vote for extra increases at the last minute, but I certainly would have liked to have known. I had a conversation with another council member, but then about these programs, but said, no, we're not going to do it this year. And then I got a little, sideswiped on this one. So yeah, we can do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Can I just interject one clarification item? Mr. Pack had mentioned that the tax increase would be 0.31 cents. It'll be 0.36 cents if this amendment is voted the way it was proposed by Mr. Lesher. It's not a big deal, but it
Okay.
is.
Thank you for the correction, Ms. Lane.
Okay. Okay, council, let's go ahead. So right now, Patrick, we need to make a motion that the new amendment, correct?
Motion to accept the second set of amendments, noting the increases clarified by Ms. Lane.
Correct. So is there a motion?
I believe we did that.
We did that. Okay, so are we ready to call the roll?
Well, I think we got to clarify the motion because Ms. Lane clarified the tax increase after that motion was made. So just.
Well, no. I didn't make the motion. She was just clarifying. I misspoke. It's 0.36, but that wasn't part of the motion. The motion was made by Mr. Lesher. So she was just clarifying a mistake that I made. I said it was 0.31. It's actually 0.36, but that wasn't part of the motion.
Okay.
Okay, and we had a second. So, Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
Mr. Callahan, just point of clarification for myself. Is this to introduce that amendment or are you voting on the amendment?
Voting on the amendment.
What?
Mr. Lesher introduced it and it was seconded. Now we're voting on it.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Callahan?
I couldn't hear you. Did you call my name?
Callahan, yes.
Yeah, no.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
No.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. So now we are in a position now for open discussion. If you want any more discussion, and now we're ready to, if you don't want any more discussion, to actually vote on the Bill 1473. Is there a motion to approve it?
I will so move.
And I'll second.
Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher, did you answer?
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Sounds great, council. Good job, council. Okay, let's move on to introduction to administrative resolution. Council introduced the second administrative resolution concerning LEOPS. Ms. Lane, would you please provide an overview of both administrative resolutions, please?
Sure. Let me just pull them up very quickly.
No problem.
Okay. I believe the first one is to join the LEOPS system, and that is to transfer a number of our employees who are currently in the employees, I believe it's in the employees combined system of the Maryland State Retirement System plans to the law enforcement officers pension system, which is another system within the Maryland State Retirement Systems. This will allow our current deputies who are eligible for Maryland State Retirement to be transferred into this new system under the full Maryland State Retirement Systems, and also allow any deputies joining the county after July 1, 2021 to join the law enforcement officers pension system. This system allows our officers to retire after 25 years as opposed to 30. I certainly don't need to tell anyone how many years this has been requested by multiple sheriffs and deputies as part of a plan. I believe if we weren't the last county in the state, we were the second to last county in the state, and virtually every other police system, municipal, is in this law enforcement officers pension system. So it is something that will keep us competitive for the limited number of officers available in the state, as we're all trying to fill our ranks. This has been a big stumbling block over the years. So the first resolution is to authorize the establishment for Talbot County deputies to join the Maryland Law Enforcement Officers Pension Systems. And the second resolution is a resolution authorizing the pickup for Maryland State Retirement for the individuals joining the Sheriff's Office. The pickup is basically the county's portion that we pay into the retirement system in order to keep it from being taxable to our employees. We have to adopt this resolution. This is part of the requirements of the Maryland State Retirement System, as well as the Internal Revenue Code, to keep those contributions that the county makes on behalf of our employees non-taxable to them for federal tax purposes. And it also requires that anyone who's participating in this program, that these contributions must go to the Maryland State Retirement System, that they can't be given to the individual employees instead of going into the system. And this is what we have currently for all of our employees under the regular system. So it's really just making both groups of employees the same under both systems.
Okay.
Don't know if you have any questions on that.
Good job. Good job. Council? I do want to say that I'm proud to be a part of this. This is a big stepping stone for us as a council and a community to back law enforcement on this and try to, keep the guys there, and they work so hard, and to try to stabilize these departments is a big deal. So I'm really, this is one achievement I think we all should be proud of. Anybody else?
Well, Mr. Callahan, I agree with you entirely. And I've been familiar with the so-called LEOPS, Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, for some years. We have seen jurisdiction after jurisdiction around us buy into the system. And they did it for exactly the same reason that we are doing it now. This will improve recruitment and retention. And we know that we've got challenges in that area. And this alone probably won't solve the challenges. We've also been making adjustments to the starting salary scale. Those are important too. Leadership is important. And finally, the equipping them and providing the policies. All of these are part of a package that our law enforcement officers need. But this is a key part of it. This is truly key. We've been hearing this request for a number of years. I am proud, as you are, Mr. Callahan, of being part of the council that can make this a reality and can solidify, can help stabilize the workforce that we have in our sheriff's department. This is an important step. And I'm also gratified, actually, when we did the actuarial study on this, that our buy-in to this system is not so fearsome. That we were able to transfer over the funding of the existing pension system, and that we don't have the upfront cost that, frankly, I and I think a number of other folks feared that we would have going into this. So this is an easier pill to swallow than I feared it would be.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I appreciate that. Mr. Pack?
And I'll wait for the motion.
Okay. Ms. Price? You good?
Yep, I'm good. I echo everything Mr. Lesher said.
Okay. Mr. DeVillio?
So yes, I'd like to just say a couple words. Again, sure. I also agree that I am proud to be a part of the council that moves forward with this. We heard loud and clear that there was a lot of turnover, and turnover is extremely expensive, and it's also risky to keep continuing to have so many rookies on the force. Experience pays dividends, and I'm happy to support the Sheriff's Department with this so that we can reduce that constant turnover, have some excellent officers that stay around, reap the benefits, and stay members of our community. We see them at the ball fields. We see them out directing traffic. We see them doing a lot for us, and I'm glad to be part of the opportunity to give back to them in a little bit. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeVillio. Madam Secretary, could we go ahead and read the first resolution into the record, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Administrative resolution authorizing a transfer to the Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, LEOPS. Whereas Talbot County, Maryland has determined it would be in the best interest of Talbot County and its citizens and the law enforcement officers employed by the Talbot County Sheriff's Office officers to withdraw eligible officers from the Employees Retirement and Pension System, ECS, and transfer them to the Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, LEOPS, operated and maintained by the Board of Trustees for the Maryland State Retirement and Pension System, the system, for eligible law enforcement personnel throughout the state of Maryland. And whereas in accordance with the Annotated Code of Maryland, State Personnel and Pensions Article, SPP, Section 31, 2A, 03A, at least 60% of the eligible officers have petitioned to become members of LEOPS and have elected to withdraw and make a transfer to the ECS, from the ECS to the LEOPS under the terms and conditions appertaining thereto. And whereas in accordance with SPP Section 31, 2A, 03A1, a resolution of the Talbot County Council is required by the system to approve and effectuate participation of eligible officers in the LEOPS. Now therefore be it resolved, Talbot County hereby authorizes, approves, and agrees to implement the LEOPS for eligible officers in the Talbot County Sheriff's Office, and further agrees to the withdrawal of such officers from ECS and the transfer of such officers to the LEOPS. And be it further resolved that Talbot County, Maryland approves the withdrawal of officers from the ECS effective June 30th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. and participation in the LEOPS effective on July 1st, 2021 at 12 a.m. pursuant to SPP Sections 31, 2A, 03A, and 31, 302. And be it further resolved by Talbot County, Maryland, that in accordance with SPP Section 26, 202B1, 6, 2, and 2, eligible officers hired on or before June 30th, 2021 shall have a one-time irrevocable election to join and participate in the LEOPS effective July 1st, 2021 by submitting a written application to the State Retirement Agency before July 1st, 2021. And be it further resolved by Talbot County, Maryland, that in accordance with SPP Sections 26201A6, 26202A, and 312A, 03A2, 3, all eligible officers hired on or after July 1st, 2021 shall not be entitled to join the ECS, but shall be in and part of the LEOPS. And the above administrative resolution was introduced and passed at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Talbot County Council on May 25th, 2021, and shall become effective on July 1st, 2021. Introduced by the Talbot County Council at a regular meeting on May 25th, 2021, at which meeting copies were available to the public for inspection. Adopted by the Talbot County Council at a regular meeting on May 25th, 2021, at which meeting copies were available to the public for inspection. Given under our hands in the Great Seal of Talbot County this 25th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2021.
Good job, Madam Secretary. I appreciate that. Okay, at this time, is there a motion and a second to approve the administrative resolution as presented?
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second.
Madam Secretary, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
This is for introduction, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Okay, Madam Secretary, on to the second one. Would you please read that resolution into the record too, please?
Administrative resolution authorizing pickup resolution for the Maryland State Retirement and Pension System of the Talbot County Sheriff's Office. The Talbot County Council met at a duly called and authorized meeting on the date set forth below, such meeting being duly called pursuant to a notice stating the time, place, and purpose of the meeting received by all council members, and the following resolutions were made, seconded, and adopted by those present at the meeting. Whereas Talbot County, Maryland is currently a participating governmental unit in the Maryland Employees Pension System and Retirement System, collectively referred to as the Employees Combined System, or ECS, and has elected to become a participating governmental unit in the Maryland Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, LEOPS, effective on July 1st, 2021. And whereas law enforcement officers employed by the Talbot County Sheriff's Office officers will be eligible to participate in LEOPS effective July 1st, 2021, and all new officers hired on or after July 1st, 2021 will be enrolled in LEOPS. And whereas the Talbot County Council has the authority to adopt this resolution on behalf of Talbot County, Maryland. And whereas the State Retirement Agency has adopted procedures for reporting picked up contributions in order to provide consistency in the administration of state law. And whereas in accordance with Annotated Code of Maryland, State Personnel and Pensions Article, SPP, Section 21-313, an approved employer may pick up all the mandatory employee contributions for its employees participating in the Maryland State Retirement and Pension System. And whereas by resolution of the Talbot County Council dated August 9th, 1988, attached here to and upon approval of the Internal Revenue Service dated May 19th, 1989, Talbot County, Maryland became an approved employer with respect to the ECS, and now desires to confirm that it is an approved employer with respect to the LEOPS, and to pick up all the mandatory employee contributions for Talbot County Sheriff's Office officers participating in the LEOPS. Now therefore be it resolved that beginning on or about July 1st, 2021, which is the effective date of Talbot County, Maryland's participation in the LEOPS, Talbot County has determined to pick up all of the mandatory contributions by the employees who are members of the LEOPS through a payroll deduction. And be it further resolved that said picked up contributions paid by payroll reduction, even though designated as employee contributions for state law purposes, are being paid by Talbot County in lieu of said contributions by the employer. Be it further resolved that the pickup treatment shall continue for all employees of Talbot County who participate in the ECS. And be it further resolved that said members of the ECS and LEOP shall not be entitled to any option of choosing to receive the contributed amounts directly instead of having them paid by Talbot County to the ECS and the LEOPS. Thus, this pickup applies to mandatory contributions that the employee is required to make to ECS and the LEOPS. Dated this 25th day of May, 2021, and effective July 1st, 2021. Given under our hands in the Great Seal of Talbot County this 25th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2021.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. What a great job. I appreciate it. Is there a motion and a second to approve the administrative resolution as presented?
I will so.
I'll
Second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Aye.
Yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate that, Council, that these two resolutions mean a lot to this county, and I'm proud of us supporting all that. Okay, moving on to County Manager Report.
Mr. Callahan,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think we just we have made the motion to introduce them, and now we go back and vote to adopt them.
Right.
So,
Right.
So the reason that was confusing is we don't do motions and seconds for introduction. We should have just all either raised our hands or taken a roll call for introduction. I think that's why it seems a little odd.
gotcha.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, I took a roll call, so are we good with all that, Patrick?
I was making, because the first motion I think was to introduce the resolutions, I would make a motion to just go ahead and adopt them to clarify for the record, to adopt both resolutions.
All right. So, Madam Secretary, I want to make a motion to adopt the.
I'll do that
Can't
for
make
you.
a motion.
Okay.
You got the gavel. It's hard to pass it virtually.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we adopt. Do you guys want to do them individually?
No.
Nope. I make a motion that we adopt both administrative resolutions tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right.
That's good. Okay. Okay, we got all that cleared up. So I know our county manager is raring to go, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Council President, members of the council. Under county manager report tonight, we have no board or committee appointments this evening. We do have a recommendation after consulting with Health Officer Maria McGuire. Staff is recommending to council consideration to resume in-person meetings effective June 8th, 2021. And if accepted, staff will publish all the pertinent information for the public awareness. Obviously, we'll continue to work closely with Dr. McGuire to maintain the status of COVID virus and make any appropriate recommendations back to council moving forward.
Okay.
So I just need to know the will of the council to move back to in-person meetings for June.
Given that we have this advice from our health officer, and given the desirability of doing this for public transparency, I think this makes it easier for everybody, and particularly for our public to be able to see what we're doing. We know that a certain portion of our public does not have the electronic access to these meetings that we wish we had. This was an expedient that we had to do in order to be able to function as government during the COVID crisis. Given where we are in that and the current infection rate in our community, the progress of vaccination, and all of that taken into consideration by the health officer, I think it's time for us to make this change, and I welcome it.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
And I completely agree. I'm excited to be back. If Camden Yards can open up June 1st, then I think we should too. But I do just ask, be safe and be polite. If somebody has a mask on or doesn't, respect it. We're moving into the vaccination phase. We need to dangle that carrot. Please get that shot if you can. But I am glad. I think it's a correct thing for us to be back in that room and show faith in the shot. Or that I can have comfort in knowing that I had the vaccine, so I'm good to go. But as far as staff goes, I will respect you guys if you still want to continue wearing a mask or what have you, or social distancing. I would like to make sure that we take that into consideration. And I think the 50% maybe capacity in the room is a good step with that, so that everybody can be respectful to one another. But I am excited to be back where we should be.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. DeVillio. Mr. Pack.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Ms. Price.
Ready and raring to go.
Okay. Well, so am I. And I know I just want to thank staff for all their hard work in the last couple of years, or year and a half or so, dealing with what you had to deal with. And with Mr. Durham, he's been on call this whole time with all the computers and getting us set up and getting all of us set up. And I really want to thank him And I'm excited to get back in there with you guys, council, working together and, coming up and doing some good work in the next year and a half or so. So I'm excited to all be back together and moving forward and let the public see what kind of good work we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Council President, members of the council. Appreciate that. We will publish the details for the public subsequent to this. The next item I have is a request to transfer 2021 housing bond allocation to the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development in the amount of $1,423,268 to issue bonds to fund housing programs and to issue mortgage credit certificates. This is an annual program that DHCD runs for us that helps people such as first-time home buyers, and this is, again, is an annual request.
I'll make a motion to do the transfer and let them run the program.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Aye.
And I just have a couple other things I'd like to say briefly. Number one, I'd like to thank Ray and the team that have been working on the solid waste management plan. They've been working really hard to make sure that they've been inclusive, putting that together, getting that to council, thanking the Public Works Advisory Board as well as the Planning Commission in helping us move that forward. And then finally, I just want to recognize, as you all have, Angela, but not only Angela, but the team, the department heads and everybody that have worked so hard to put the budget together this year, and council for your leadership. I said it from the beginning that, this budget, although it's a lot of money, and it seems it might be a bit aggressive, clearly it's flexible, it's practical, and it's visionary. And so I just want to thank you for your leadership and recognize staff for their good work on this. And I thank you for approving that. Look forward to working through the year to implement the things that you've included in that budget. So with that, Mr. Council President, I'll turn it back to you. It concludes the county manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Stamp, for those kind words and your whole team that you've put together. We can't thank you enough for all your hard work too. Okay, moving on, council. Let's start with Mr. Dorn. We're going to do public comments now.
Okay, we do have 2 callers queued up to speak.
Okay.
If actually 3 now. If you are interested in speaking, please press *3 on your phone or the raise hand button on your computer. Our first caller is a 410-703 number. Caller, please begin.
Yeah, caller, could you please say your name and where you're from? Appreciate it.
My name is Bruce Holly. I'm from Easton, Maryland. Good evening. When you enter the United States at New York by ship, as I and thousands of citizens and immigrants have done over the years, you're greeted by the Statue of Liberty holding a torch high for liberty and justice. There's no question what American core values she stands for. However, when you enter the courtyard in front of Talbot County's courthouse, things aren't so clear. On the one hand, you see a statue of Frederick Douglass, a man who courageously broke the chains of his own enslavement and freed the minds of his brothers and sisters forever. But you also see, on the other hand, a statue memorializing men who fought, often bravely and with commitment, to keep Mr. Douglass and his brothers and sisters and children in eternal bondage. In no way is that an American core value, and it should be finally made clear that Talbot County will not continue to accept any ambiguity about that fact, not for 1 minute longer. As a lesson that we once were divided in a bloody fight over freedom for all men, let the statue stand in some appropriate spot away from a court of justice, as a statement that Talbot County has joined the America that I believe in and love in this 21st century. Let it be moved today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holly, for calling in tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay, our next caller is a 415-703 302 number. Caller, please begin.
Yep, caller, could you
Yes,
please?
hi.
Yep.
Yes, hello. My name's Penelope Cripps Dwyer. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Dwyer, we can.
Thank you. Sometimes the connection's a little sketchy out here in Tunis Mills. I live in Easton, outside of Easton, and I grew up on the Miles River in the old house of Ingleton back in the day. Back in the day when the schools were segregated and blacks sat upstairs in the Avalon movie theater. I was the only child on the Miles River Neck Road in 1969 to ride on the black school bus because none of the other white parents would allow their children to do so. So I remember a certain history here, a history that we've grown farther away from, thankfully. I left when I was relatively young and married a Californian and raised my children there, but I'm happy to be back and retired now in my beloved Maryland. I'm so happy to see so much social change and so many young people who, too, have gone away from college and now are returned with their thoughts and their ideas and the progress that's happening here in such a good way. But I am reminded of a very dark time when I see that statue, and it unnerves me. And I am white, so I cannot imagine how it unnerves so many of my friends and fellow residents here on the Eastern Shore. We've made great progress, but we haven't made enough progress. And I think it's a lack of education because there is no evidence that can contest that this statue was not constructed during a time of a resurgence of white supremacy. No matter what we say, what we believe in our history, this is a monument of history, but it belongs in a place, the museum, or some other place, but not a course of in front of the courthouse of justice. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Council, for all that you do to make this a wonderful place to live.
Thank you, Ms. Dwyer. I appreciate you calling in tonight, and I'm glad you decided to come back with us. That's great.
Our next caller is a 443-496 number.
Okay, caller, could you tell us your name and where you're from?
Sure. My name is Joe Gamble. I'm a proud resident of Talbot County, and I'm also your sheriff.
Oh, that's good.
I can't thank you. I can't thank you enough, all five of you, for your support of LEOPS, your support of the sheriff's office over the last 6 or plus years that I've been there. Both this council and the previous council has made it very clear, and the public made it very clear back in November during the election that they supported first responders, police, fire, EMS, and our correctional officers. So I can't thank each of you enough for having the determination to see this LEOPS through. It will serve our county well beyond my years and probably your years as far as helping to retain qualified sheriff's deputies to patrol this beautiful county. And I just wanted to take that minute to thank each of you. We made great progress. We have a ways to go with our correctional officers and our paramedics, but we've taken a big leap forward. So just thank each one of you for your commitment to public safety in Talbot County.
Thank you, Sheriff. We can't thank you enough for all your commitment and hard work. And we're blessed to have all of you. We're beside you, and we're always going to be beside you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, our next caller is a 949294 number. Caller, please begin.
Caller, could you say your name and where you're from, please?
Yes, my name is Keith Watts, and I'm from Tillman Island. Good evening, Council, and thank you for your service. Congratulations to the Sheriff's Department for becoming part of the LEOPS program. I think that is a very huge step for the county. But my comments are about, well, you already know how I feel about this, but one, now that there is a federal lawsuit filed concerning the green statue that's out in front of the courthouse, one, has an outside firm been retained to defend the county? And who are they? Two, has a litigation budget been proposed And 3, has anyone on the council considered mediating this case before the citizens of Talbot County start paying lawyers to litigate? Being a lawyer, I can tell you that there's lots of lawyers out there who will be happy to be the point of the spear for the county, and we will all be poorer for it. I'd like to hear the county's thoughts on how they're going to handle this, because this could drag on for a long time unless the council summons the will to address this problem once and for all. And for that, I thank you for your service again and turn it back to the council president.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. I appreciate you calling tonight. And if you have any questions, our county attorney, Mr. Patrick Thomas, would be glad to answer those for you. Thank you.
Okay, our next caller this evening is a 443-786 number. Caller, please begin.
Caller, could you say your name and where you're from, please?
Hi, my name is Touch Archie. I've lived here 35 years. White, 73 years old, independent voter. I attended segregated Maryland schools and a segregated Virginia college, joined an integrated army, and thrived with all races. This past summer, like many, I discovered my blindness and tolerance of the racism all around all my life. Very much alive, Jim Crow practices and preserving whiteness is the quiet background everywhere here. There are a great many Southern traditions we enjoy in this nice, genteel county. Yet there are a few traditions held over that are just as hurtful now as in 1916. Racism that many deny is still really alive and living here. To preserve our white privilege, blacks still have to know their place. The monument was put up to terrorize regarding Jim Crow. No question, still in effect. As our elected leaders, you can make changes to do the right thing for every citizen. This is clearly about right and wrong, not taking a poll or listening to lobbyists. Do the right thing. If not, you're the personification of maintaining Jim Crow today. By doing nothing and fighting removal, you give permission to the white supremacists in our county. You've got their back and they know it. Just like 1916, is today the day is on every black person's mind. Do you wake up like that? A traffic stop goes bad, different clothing, gathering on a street corner. Maybe instead, your only worry is running into somebody brown or black, possibly a family tradition. Move it. Get it away from the very site of slave auctions and lynchings. Your choice. Stick with the mean and ugly traditions of the past,
30 seconds.
Take our reputation and lives into a brighter future. Just move it, and now. Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoy living here.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ritchie. I appreciate you calling in tonight.
Okay, our next caller is a 443-783 number. Caller, please begin.
Yeah, caller, could you say your name and where you're from, please?
Good evening, President Callahan. This is Chad Hill, and I'm born and raised in Easton, Maryland, and I live here today.
Thanks a lot for calling, Mr. Hill.
Thank you, President. Council, in the year 2021, remarkably and sadly, the Confederate flag, squarely representative of efforts to perpetuate slavery and white supremacy from a past not long ago, continues to be glorified on our courthouse lawn. I fiercely believe in the need for the statue's immediate removal, and the ongoing reckoning in our county has been a great opportunity for all of us to do a lot of listening and learning. Up to this point, Council, I believe you've really missed the opportunity to trigger a needed moment of progress for this county. Our friends who argue for the statute to remain, it seems they want us to feel such complexity with the history of the Talbot Boys statue. But it is not that complex. They want us to appreciate the incredible uniqueness of the Talbot Boys story. But it is not that unique. For years now, places like New Orleans, Charleston, Richmond have been taking clear and appropriate steps forward to remove these monuments. These movements and moments have been victories in these communities. Progress. Symbols are powerful. On our courthouse lawn sits a symbol which clearly engenders intense pain and suffering for so many. It's the wrong message. We should do better. Council, I'm sure you all are familiar with the great historian Ken Burns. I'm a little bit of a history nerd myself, and so I happen to be a really big fan of his. Burns is one of the most respected historians in America. He's produced some incredible documentaries, including a great one on the Civil War, if you haven't seen it. Burns was recently interviewed about the appropriate fate for the remaining Confederate monuments in public spaces. His response was emphatically clear, that the statues, and I quote, attempt to rewrite history, celebrate a false narrative, and that they have to go. Thank you for the chance to speak tonight.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Hill, for calling in tonight. Appreciate it.
We have no other callers queued to speak. Again, if you're interested in speaking, please press *3 on your *3 on your phone or the raise hand button on your computer.
Okay.
We do have.
If somebody pops in, just let me know. Okay.
We just had a couple more.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So our next caller is 410-822 number. Caller, please begin.
Yeah, caller, could you tell us your name and where you're from, please?
My name is Ron Lesher, and full disclosure, I am the father of one of the members of the county council. I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I married a person who has deep roots in Maryland and even Talbot County dating back to the 17th century. Her maiden name was Earl, as in Earl's addition to Easton. Dr. John Charles Earl, one of the founding physicians of Memorial Hospital, was her great-grandfather. Many of her ancestors owned slaves, as noted in the family correspondence that she has been reading and sorting since March 2020. That family correspondence, which she inherited, is probably more than 40 cubic feet. I rise to speak to the removal of the Talbot Boys statue from the courthouse property. That, in spite of my wife's ancestors being owners of slaves, and almost certainly with sympathies towards slave owning. That, in spite of the sympathies of some of those ancestors towards the superiority of white people. Well, I remember my wife's late aunt, who returned in the 1970s in retirement to Easton. She bought a house on Beery Street, and I heard from her lips with my own ears that those people living on the other side of the alley to the rear of her house were fine as long as they knew their place. I am reminded of those words every time I see the statue. It must be moved from the courtyard in front of the courthouse as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher. It's a pleasure to hear you, and I appreciate you calling in tonight.
Okay, our next caller is a 215-316 number. Caller, please begin.
Hello. My name is Robin Strickoff, and I'm a full-time Easton resident. Good evening, and thank you for taking my call. Each of you obviously care about Talbot County. I'm baffled. I'm confused. I have a question for each of you. Why is it okay with you to leave a monument supporting the Confederacy, supporting slavery and insurrection against the United States on courthouse property? Property that is a democratic symbol of the rule of law and equal justice. Why should the Talbot Boys Monument remain any longer on courthouse property?
Mrs. Strikeoff, it's this is your time. It's not our time to answer questions. It's your time. So if you have any questions, you can email us, or you could call our county attorney.
Well, I do have that question, and would love to hear from you at the appropriate time. Would love to hear your response. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, our next caller is a 410960 number. Caller, please begin.
Caller, if you could say your name and where you're from, I'd appreciate it.
I'm Dominic Mickey Tyrone. I live in Oxford, Maryland. I'd like to reinforce Joe Gamble's comments from earlier. I spoke publicly my support for doing supporting the police department, public safety, very important. I only wish that the county council would have the same courage to support the public education programs in this county. But that's not the reason why I called this evening. The reason I'm calling is that I believe that there is no reasonable excuse for the presence of the Confederate flag on the Talbot County Courthouse grounds. You cannot reasonably deny that the flag, which is unfurled, is not a tribute or celebration of the cause for which it stood, the permanent institution of slavery. In a state that rejected the Confederacy, in a county that overwhelmingly supported the Union war effort, under no circumstances should that flag, that has come to symbolize the very worst depths of ugly racism and white supremacy throughout this country, should it be present on our county courthouse grounds or on any other public property in this state or anywhere else in the country. The tortured logic of creating a revised statute adding a U.S. flag misses the point entirely. The Confederate battle flag must be moved away from the grounds at the county courthouse. You already have the Union flag flying above the county courthouse. It's the American flag. That's the flag that makes us free. There's no legitimate historical narrative nor records that support leaving the statue there as it is now, or as it might be revised. The racist symbolism of the Confederate flag is not a local issue. It's a national issue, and it's worthy of elimination from places of public authority throughout this, even throughout the former Confederate states. And it has largely been eliminated, even throughout the Confederate states. We must act, the county council must take on and understand the mantle of leadership here.
30 seconds.
It's not easy. It's not an easy decision for the council to make. I understand that. But it's an obvious decision. You people are good people. You're smart people. You understand the significance of this. It's a tough decision. I trust and I hope that you will make it to eliminate that flag. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Appreciate the kind comments you said about council. Thank you.
Our next caller is a 202320 number. Caller, please begin.
Yeah, caller, could you say your name and where you're from, please?
Sure. My name is Denise Lombard, and I live on Tillman Island. First, let me just say I am so moved by the previous passionate and thoughtful speakers, each one who carefully thought about what they were going to say and searched their hearts for what they were going to say. I'm not prepared. I'm just going to speak directly from the heart. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. One thing that set in motion was a movement to challenge systemic racism in all its forms in our society. We are not the only town that has a movement to remove a Confederate monument. There are many. There were 170 Confederate monuments removed from their places in 2020 after the George Floyd murder. I don't know why we can't get into the modern world here, into Easton, Maryland, and Talbot County, and face the realities of racism and a racist past, and the incredible resilience of our African American citizens for having lived through all that and living through racism into the present day. I would really like to ask the council members to take this opportunity to be leaders, to have a legacy of taking a stand against this statue. And if that doesn't happen, you're going to just have a shameful loss in the next election, and your legacy is not going to be heralded by many, many, many people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombard. Appreciate you calling in tonight. Thank you.
It's currently our last caller wishing to speak. If you are interested in speaking, please press *3 on your phone or the raise hand button on your computer.
Yeah, caller, if you're calling, just say your name and where you're from, please. I'd appreciate it.
We currently do not have any callers queued.
Okay. All right. Well, if we have a few more call in or something, let's just we can handle that. All right. So let's move on to council comments. Mr. Vice President, are you out there?
We do have another caller.
Oh, we do have another caller. Hold tight, Mr. Vice President. We got one more caller.
Caller's 410-745. Please begin.
Caller, could you say your name and where you're from, please?
Yes, good evening to everyone. My name is Constance Morris Hope. I'm calling from St. Michael's. I am a relatively recent immigrant to the Eastern Shore and to Talbot County, but we've been here for 20-some years, and I'd like to add my voice to what Robert Streikoff said, Denise Lombard. I am part of the coalition to move the monument, and I'd like to urge the council to stand with us and decide to move the monument. And I agree with everything that others have said, and so I don't need to repeat it, but I stand with them.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Hope, for calling in tonight. I appreciate it.
I'll stand by.
Good?
Yes, I'll stand by.
Okay. Okay, council. Mr. Lesher, we got council comments.
Mr. President, I have nothing for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Pack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Callahan.
Yeah.
I wasn't really prepared to say anything, but I guess listening to those callers and the passion which those callers brought their statements to us this evening just moved me to just give voice to, again, the request to remove the Talbot Boy statue from the courthouse grounds, not to throw it into the Miles River or drag it down Washington Street, but to appropriately put it in another location in the county that's more fitting, and certainly not in front of the courthouse. One thing that that brings to mind is that this council has done some very good things. This was the first council that hired an Hispanic person as a department head. This council was the first council to hire an African American in Talbot County history as a department head. This council supported overwhelmingly the Transgender Day of Visibility. This council also supported the Frederick Douglass Park on the Tuckahoe and put funds towards that effort to see that vision become a reality here in Talbot County. But unfortunately, all of that would be gone to the wayside, because nobody will remember all of those efforts because this council refused to remove the Confederate statue off the courthouse grounds. So for all the good that this council has accomplished, it will all be forgotten because of this one stain. And that's the regret that I have with this council, is that for all the good that we've done, it will all be for naught if we do not remove that statue. So I just, again, was not prepared to make a statement to that end tonight. I do appreciate those callers for stepping up, and as those callers said, for having the bravery and the leadership to make that decision. I mean, we applauded ourselves on the fact that this was the first council that put money towards LEOPS to move our sheriff's department into, and this request has been around for many, many years to move the sheriff's department into LEOPS. This council was the first council to do that. But again, unfortunately, all those gains will be for naught if we do not address that statute. So I just want to lend my voice to that, to the rest of those callers, and I wholeheartedly support them in their request of this council to show leadership and to show courage and to make that a reality here in Talbot County, as it has been across many other counties in the nation, even in the deep south of Georgia and Mississippi. But yet then we're still holding on to the Confederacy here in Talbot County. It's something that I wish that this council would deal with. What I wanted to say, I was prepared to say, was to applaud those citizens here in Talbot County who have gotten their first dose of the vaccine. The last numbers that I looked at shows that we are over 50%, somewhere in the neighborhood of 57.6% of Talbot Countyans have received at least one shot of the vaccine. We have another nearly 19,000 who are now fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. So I just wanted to, again, keep encouraging those citizens who are on the fence about becoming vaccinated to please educate yourself and to become vaccinated as we are opening up. Council is going to be going back into the courthouse come June. Your restaurants are now opened up to let you come back in without any social distancing, as well as our stores here in the county. Do your part. Do your part to keep yourself safe, your family safe, your fellow citizens safe. Do your part and get vaccinated. Again, we're at 57% right now. Thank you very much, each and every one of you who stepped up to get that first shot. But we can do better. We should do better. And so I want to applaud the health officer, Dr. McGuire, Nancy Andrews, leading our COVID Equity Task Force for reaching into populations of our community to encourage them to continue getting vaccinated. So just want to leave with that note that we're done a good job. We can do better. And just want to encourage our citizens to continue doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. Ms. Price.
I have nothing further this evening, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeVillio.
So, sure, I'll just talk. Yep. So, got one crappy thing on my mind. Down at the Neighborhood Service Center, one of our shelters had a sewage leak. It was a 90-degree turn, and the line went through the 90 degrees. Sewage was leaking. For those who don't know, I've been shopping for a house for about a year. I looked at two different houses that I put contracts on, had septic inspections, both failed. One failed miserably, where there's sewage in the yard. It's a 50-year-old septic system that's never been, from 1953. never been replaced. And we talk a lot about when we have a sewer line that leaks and how detrimental that is to the community. When the alarm goes off, we race to it, we clean it up. These homeowners aren't. They don't know. They have no idea that their septic's failing. They just think they have a wet backyard when you talk to them. So I have not had a chance to sit with Ray and ask him to calculate how many sewers or septic systems have been repaired or replaced in the past year. But I imagine it's more than the 2 or 3 leaks that we've had on the county level. So I would like to thank Ray for his fast work at preventing major catastrophic hazards that could be happening. And for those who are terrified of sewer lines coming, again, we jump on it quick when we have a problem. We have alarms that tell us we have a problem. The homeowners don't. Those homeowners who have their septic tanks filling up don't have the money to replace it. They're failing. They're waiting for us to come. That's a hazard. That's dangerous. So there's a lot of talk about these scary sewer lines, and I'm happy to report that we've got a fantastic engineer who makes sure that we are staying safe and clean. So thank you. And it does happen to all of us, including the government.
Thank you, Mr. DeVilliers. That's some good words. That's some good words. So I'll wrap things up tonight, and everybody knows I'm going to wrap it up on a positive note. We've got a great council here. We're definitely sometimes on the other sides of things, but at the end of the day, we've passed a budget tonight that's going to help a lot of people and help this community be safer. And I'm proud of that. We worked hard as a council to get it to this point. There's going to be a new sheriff's department coming in the next few years. We've got LEOPS to stabilize some of the police officers in that budget. There's more money for the fire departments. All you have to do is read down through this budget and understand what the voters wanted. And I feel like we've gave it to them. And, you know, Angela Lane has been fantastic for the last 25 years and all the hard work she's done for this council and this community and all the employees. And she's hard to beat. And we've hired a lady that is going to be beside her. She's coming here in the next several weeks. We've hired a new HR person. He's coming tomorrow. Mr. Clay Stamp, the county manager, has worked very, very hard trying to get some of these departments up and running. And I'm very proud of all the hard work that council's done to put these people in place. And look, we're doing all this in a pandemic. We're under state emergency doing all this work. So we're a phenomenal council. We're a phenomenal team, and we got to remember that we're going to agree to disagree, and that's just how it's going to have to be, because that's what makes us all unique. We're all different, but at the end of the day, we come together. We come together and we make things work. So, you know, I'm proud of all of us. I know some of these subjects are really tough, but at the end of the day, we need to start looking out for each other. So, being that said, I'm going to let Mr. Vice President wrap it up for us.
We did have one more person wishing.
Oh, we do? Okay, no problem. One more caller.
Daniel Watson.
But he's been on here once.
I mean, once the time has passed, you know, after we've done we're wrapping up the meeting.
Miss Price, I'll take care of this. Okay. Let Mr. Watson, if he wants to email us, or he's welcome to come to the next meeting and comment at the next meeting. It's no problem. Okay, Mr. Vice President, can you go ahead and wrap things up for us?
The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 8th, beginning at 6:00 p.m. The Council will be convening an open session at 4:30 p.m. and immediately adjourning into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters, as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Patton?
Aye. Night.
Thanks a lot, Council. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the evening.